I'm about to spend 10,000 ringgit on a digital piece of land, and these are the top 5 NFT game lands that I am looking at. This video was, by the way, sponsored by Big Time, and more on this later. Basically, right, it's a digital picture of a land in a game. This is probably the part where you go like, you okay girl? But let me tell you why I wouldn't be surprised if these lands actually go up by 10x or maybe even 100x. At least as the metaverse becomes more and more important in our daily lives. For example, this piece of land actually went up by 32 times within a year. This piece of land, on the other hand, went up by about 20 times within a year. And these lands went up by 15 to about 60 times within a year. Now, ever since Facebook changed its name to Meta, everyone and their mark chicks are now talking about virtual items. My mom actually just asked me what an NFT was simply because of this guy, who is obviously very popular for music. Now, a lot of people couldn't understand how this guy made 4 million ringgit with pictures that look like these. I mean, these obviously look kind of weird. The point is that the gold rush for the metaverse is here. And if you're watching this video, you're one of the lucky few, just like what I said for my Axie video back then. A lot of people still thank me for that video, as I think they made quite some money from actually being early. Now, what's cool is that we are still very early into the game of buying virtual lands right now. Not financial advice, by the way. Okay, so the first landing point that you should be looking at should be the like, subscribe, and also the notification button. Also follow me on Twitter and Instagram, where I will give away one Axie scholarship worth 4,000 ringgit every single week or 2 weeks for the next few months. Okay, but for real this time, before we actually continue on with the video, I do want to explain how this video will be structured for every single land. Every time I'm about to explain the land, I'll structure it into 3 different sections. The first section, I'll talk about what this land is about. The second section, I'll talk a little bit about how much the price is and a few details here and there about the land. And then the last thing that I will talk about would be why buying these lands would be a good choice. Okay, so the first land that I am actually looking at is from Axie Infinity. If you've never heard about this game, Axie Infinity is a crypto Pokemon game and is probably the most popular crypto game in the world right now. People buy these cute looking Axies, play with them, and then make money with in-game tokens called SLP, or it's kind of like mesos for games like MapleStory, for example. I actually personally run one of Malaysia's largest Axie scholarships, aka Gaming for Good, where we lend out our Axies/crypto Pokemons out to people that are looking for a side income source. And you can actually find out more about us in the description below, where I'll actually place the Gaming for Good Discord group in the description. So how much would a piece of land in Axie Infinity cost? There are actually 5 types of land in Axie Infinity, with the cheapest being Savannah. There's Forest, there's Arctic, there's also Mystic, and the most expensive being Genesis lands. Cheapest piece of land is about 3.9 Ethereum, which is about 70,000 ringgit. Yeah, not cheap. And the highest priced land in Axie Infinity is a Genesis plot of land, which costs about 10,700 Ethereum, which is about 195 million ringgit.
They ask you how you are, you say that you're fine, and you're not
cheap.
Fine.
And why would Axie Infinity lands be a good form of investment? I actually have 3 reasons for this. Now, the first reason being that you're probably thinking to yourself that these land prices are already really expensive, and there's no point for you to actually invest in all these lands anymore because they're already so overpriced, right? But sources have told me that about 3 out of 4 batches of lands have yet to be released and will actually be released soon. Combining this with point number 2 will be that Axie Infinity's player base is continuously increasing every single day. When I first started, there were only about 80,000 players. Now, after only about 8 months, we're now at almost 3 million players. That's like 37.5 times or 40 times in 8 months. Yeah, these are also daily users, by the way. Yeah, these are not like the fake Facebook likes that the core sellers keep buying on Facebook, okay? And third reason is simply because there have also been many announcements on the importance of land, as gameplay involving land will become more and more important starting from Q2 next year, which is sometime around April to June next year. The developers are also consistently updating everyone on this all of the time. You can actually check that out on the Axie Infinity website and combine that with major FOMO or fear of missing out for the Metaverse ever since Facebook changed its name to Meta. This could be an easy 10 times to 100 times gain depending on the rarity of your land. The second NFT land that I would like to talk about is actually Big Time, the sponsor of today's video. I am actually very picky with my sponsorships, as you guys know, simply because I know that I have an audience and you guys may or may not be influenced by whatever it is that I would be saying. But when Big Time reached out to me to ask me to give a shout out, it was pretty much like it was a pretty obvious decision for me because it is one of the most anticipated play to earn games in the world right now, simply because the team is of super high quality. The team has worked on amazing titles like Fortnite, World of Warcraft, League of Legends, and quite a few more that you would probably recognize if you're like a Kaki Cyber Cafe or something like that. It also helps that the CEO was the founder of Decentraland. The game is going to be an MMORPG just like World of Warcraft and MapleStory. That means you can actually play with your friends and go on adventures and take on quests. The story focuses heavily on time travel adventures. Each player will actually have their own time machines, which is so freaking cool, and the game will be released sometime next year. And you'll also be able to get big time tokens from owning lands, which are called space, which will be a very important thing as well. Okay, so how much is it priced at now? We don't really have data on this yet, and they will start selling sometime around the 3rd week to the 4th week of December using an auction method where guilds and players can actually start bidding. And the land will be very important for the following reasons, which will then lead us to why am I considering big time land as well. Well, there are 3 reasons. The first reason is simply because of the spaces function. If you look at the picture over here, they have told us a little bit about what space is for. I don't want to bore you guys too much, but to make it simple, space can help you to earn more big time tokens and then more NFTs. In other words, it will help you to make more money in the game and also in real life, because it's play to earn. Exactly by how much we're not exactly sure yet, but if you're looking at other lands, I think it would be somewhere around 5 to 10%. It also depends on what kind of land that you buy, I guess. Okay, now the longer version is that owning more space will allow you to have more time to play the game and go on adventures. It's sort of like Candy Crush, where you have energy and then after that, once you're done with using your energy, you can't play anymore. It's the same thing. So I'm assuming that in this game, for every single adventure, you would actually have to spend energy from your hourglass, and more energy means that you have more time to play, and if you have more time to play, that means you have more tokens that you can earn, and then you'll also be able to make more money because of that. Do you get me? Because even I am slightly confused right now. The second reason is simply because of the team, and have you guys seen how strong the team is? Not only have the team members work on things like Fortnite and also League of Legends, and if you're a bit of a Kaki Cyber Cafe and then Mamak kind of guy like me, you'll know these other titles like Overwatch, Gears of War, and heck, even Zynga for people that grew up with Facebook games like Mafia Wars and things like that. Now, the third reason is simply because of the game itself and also its focus on the community. The game looks really good, and the soundtrack just sounds amazing. I mean, just have a look. The game looks really good when you compare it to most of the other crypto games on the market right now. I'm saying this because, well, look at it. And because of this, the community for the game is extremely strong. The Discord is always blowing up, and the Twitter has a lot of organic followers. These will all definitely contribute to a much higher price when it comes to Spaceland's resale value. And lastly, they're very focused on making sure that the game is truly community owned. Unlike many of the other crypto games on the market right now, you can only earn big time tokens by playing the game. That means there's no such thing as initial coin offerings or anything like that. This is what was actually recently said in a Medium paper released by them. Clearly, the tokens will be a highly sought after commodity, and we want to ensure a fair launch for everyone. To that end, there will be no initial offering or pre-sale of the token to anyone, including the development team, meaning that the token will be 100% community driven. The primary way to acquire the tokens will be to play the game. The third land that I would like to introduce to you guys would actually be SandBox. The SandBox doesn't just have lands, but they actually have lands that are owned by some of the biggest companies in the world. We're talking about like Atari, South China Morning Post, The Walking Dead, and Snoop Dogg.
Smoke weed every day.
It's called the SandBox not because of this Korean drama. Don't ask me why I know that. But because you get to create whatever it is that you want with the land that you own, and you can have people come to your land and then actually play those games and then earn from those games as well. And it doesn't just stop there. You can even have people watch advertisements on your land. You can also even make people watch movies on your land. The only thing that's stopping you is really just your imagination at this point. By my standards, pretty freaking amazing as well. To sum it up, it's sort of like Minecraft or Roblox, but in the metaverse with blockchain technology and etc. How much is land in the SandBox right now? Looking at OpenSea right now, the cheapest land that I can see is somewhere around 0.8 Ethereum, which is about 15,000 ringgit. The most expensive piece of land was sold for somewhere around 3.5 million US dollars, I think, if I'm not wrong. An important thing to note is also that there are only about 166,000 lands in the SandBox, and there won't be any more lands after this. Also, when it comes to buying lands, you want to make sure that you have 3 important factors. The first thing that we want to do is to make sure that your piece of land is close to a very popular spot. For example, if you were to actually have bought this piece of land beside Snoop Dogg, you would have been able to sell it for this price, which is pretty crazy. Second thing would be your size of land as well. The larger the size, the more things you can build on it, so you can actually sell it for a much higher price or actually earn more money with that piece of land as well. Now, why would it be a good idea to invest in SandBox lands? I actually have 3 reasons, and the first reason is simply because there is a lot of value in getting these lands, because you can actually build so many things on them. You can actually build advertisements on them, you can actually make games on them, and then you can charge people to play these games. Second reason is simply because SandBox lands are also becoming really popular. You've got some amazing partnerships for SandBox. You've got guys like Snoop Dogg, The Walking Dead, Mouse, and etc. The last reason is simply because it's becoming more and more of a company trend to buy virtual land, and the SandBox is definitely the preferred platform right now. So because of this, fewer and fewer lands will be available, and it also means that the price of the lands will actually just keep going up. The fourth piece of land that I'll be talking about would be Decentraland. In every huge industry, there is a Pepsi versus Coke, or Maxis versus Digi, and me versus scammers. I mean cost sellers. Okay, for legal reasons, that's a joke. So Decentraland is sort of like SandBox's biggest competitor. It's too early to tell right now, but it seems to me like Decentraland is looking more like Pepsi compared to SandBox, which is more like Coca-Cola. Both are equally as good, but they do have different visuals, and depending on what you would prefer, you may think that SandBox is better than Decentraland. For me personally, I actually prefer SandBox's visuals. Just like SandBox, you can actually edit your land and also build a lot of stuff on your lands as well. It's also pretty interesting how you can find many different ways to make money from your land. So how much is it priced at now? For Decentraland's lands, they are divided into parcels and also estates. Parcels are sort of like smaller pieces of lands, and estates are like larger pieces of lands. The cheapest parcel right now is somewhere around 3,800 mana to 4,500 mana, which is about 18,000 US dollars, which translates to something around 72,000 ringgit. The cheapest estate, on the other hand, is somewhere around 8,700 to 10,000 mana, which translates into something like 39,000 US dollars, and that's about 160,000 ringgit. A new record was also broken by these guys called the Metaverse Group, a subsidiary of tokens.com, where they purchased the land for 618,000 mana, which is somewhere around $2.43 million at that time. So yeah, quite a lot of people are actually investing in Decentraland as well. So why am I considering Decentraland as well? The reasons are actually exactly the same with SandBox, except for one reason. Now, the first reason is simply because, just like SandBox, I can build things on my land, and I can actually generate extra passive income with whatever it is that I've built. Second thing is that the partnerships that Decentraland has built, for example, brands like Paris Hilton and also Mouse were associated with Decentraland at one point as well. The third reason is also that it's becoming more and more of a trend for big companies to actually buy up virtual lands, and when you think about big companies buying virtual lands, they're most likely going to buy from SandBox and also Decentraland as well. Which brings me to my fourth point, and the reason why I'm looking at Decentraland is simply because I think it will be a very good way for me to reduce my risk and diversify my holdings into both SandBox and also Decentraland as well. The fifth land that I'm actually looking at is from Illuvium. Illuvium is another crypto Pokemon kind of game, except that it is actually being produced by a AAA game studio, and it looks absolutely freaking amazing. Illuvium will always have a place in my heart because I discovered it when it was priced about $100 US. So my reaction then was like,
too expensive, man. It's not gonna go any higher.
and now it's about $1,200 US, and at one point at its highest it was somewhere around $2,000 US. It's no big deal. I only cry about it like once a week.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
The game isn't out yet and will be released sometime around 2022, and it's probably one of the most anticipated games out there. It's one of those auto battle games where you collect Illuviums or Pokemons, and then they'll auto battle in these arenas. And winners will then be able to win Ethereum as a result of winning from these battles. So how much are these lands priced right now? Before I continue, I do want to give a bit of a shout out to Mookie from Illuvium's Discord for helping to come up with this illustration. It looks amazing and it's concise and straight to the point. There's going to be a total of 100,000 lands, but for the first sale that's coming out sometime around January 2022, only about 20% of these lands will be up for sale. What you have to know is that there are 5 tiers or levels of lands, and the higher the level goes, the more expensive the lands will become, and also the more valuable they become as well. All of these lands will be sold with a Dutch auction. So a Dutch auction is just pretty much like a sexy word for the price will keep dropping until somebody buys it. The cheapest land right now is somewhere around 0.5 Ethereum. In other words, it's somewhere around 9,000 to 10,000 ringgit. Whereas the most expensive lands, which are the tier 4s and tier 5s, for the tier 4 it's somewhere around 20 Ethereum, which is about 360,000 ringgit. And for tier 5s, they are so expensive that they're up for auction and there's no proper price for them yet. I'm assuming that it's going to be pretty expensive. Probably not something that I can afford right now, so I didn't really bother to like check.
Don't lie lah!
Now there are a few reasons why I would want to purchase Illuvium land. The first reason for why land in Illuvium is so important is simply because it actually helps the players to make more money from the game. It is said that with land you can actually generate about 5% extra in terms of your earnings from mining resources around your land. And with those stronger resources you can actually use them to catch stronger Illuviums or crypto Pokemons as well. This may actually push up the value of these lands to a really high value, and then the resale value could potentially be extremely high as well. Second reason is simply because co-founders Kieran and Aaron are pretty solid. The community is also very strong and they have a strong network of A-list influencers in the crypto space. They actually made a few custom-made Illuvium cards for a few crypto influencers as well. The third reason is simply because they have a solid team of investors. For example, like Sebastian, the founder of SandBox, or Jason Choi, the founder of Spartan Capital. Also, if you're wondering how I'm actually buying lands with only 10,000 ringgit, I'm actually co-owning this land with quite a few people that I personally know, and I suggest that you guys actually do that too, because firstly you can actually own more lands and you can actually reduce more of your risks, and you also be able to accumulate enough money to buy a high quality land. Another reason is just because I'm quite kiamsiap. Once again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and to also follow me on Twitter and Instagram, where I'll give away one Axie scholarship worth 4,000 ringgit every single week to every 2 weeks. Once again, special thanks to Big Time for sponsoring the video. I will actually link their Twitter and also their Discord and all of their other socials down in this video below. And as per usual guys, see ya.